because obviously, you know, we had this tragedy affecting so many people with the similar injuries, and they're all talking about lower extremities and a lot of the amputees. So that's why we're here, is to talk to people about what has changed over the years when it comes to technology, and what you guys are able to offer patients now.
Well, I've been in the field for 25 years, so I've seen a lot of changes occur, even in the time I've been in. Some of the really the best technology you don't really see on TV, because mostly what you see are things that allow people to run or to do high-level activities. Most of our amputees are just wanting to get back to work and take care of their family and do those sorts of things. And when I first started in the field, one of the biggest challenges was making them comfortable all day. So some of the materials in the socket itself, which is really of the components, is the most important piece. That's the part that is fit around the amputated limb. It provides stability and comfort and what we call proprioception, so they're able to know where the foot is in space. And so a lot of the silicones and gels that we use have first and foremost allowed us to make the amputee a lot more comfortable.
And that's what we're looking at here, is the difference in the material. These are different?
Yeah, I don't actually I don't, if you need to edit that, but I don't
No,
have a
you
gel.
don't.
I don't have a gel. The thing about the gel liners, I can show you them, they're boring.
Oh, okay. No, but like what's the difference between, for example, these two? You said these are years apart, right?
Yeah, for example, this one here is one, you would have seen this in the 60s, 70s, even some in the 80s. But basically it's a very hard shell. A lot of the weight would have to be taken up on the thigh simply because down in here was just hard plastic. And they would wear a sock on their limb for comfort, but even that wasn't cushion enough for some of the bony spots. So by tightening up this, they could unload the area inside the socket. Today we're using prostheses that don't have all this extra apparatus on it. So our sockets are much more form-fitted, and with a gel liner over that residual limb, they can take pressure anywhere in here. So the comfort of the prosthesis has been one of the really big advancements. From there you move into some of the technology like feet that do allow our patients to run, or again for our normal everyday amputee, just even walking over uneven terrain and hills when they're missing that ankle component. So there's a lot of technology even in the below the knee or transtibular amputee where we're putting microprocessors or computer chips into feet and ankles so they can actually assess the terrain and accommodate to hills and slopes and ramps and things like that.
Wow, I hadn't heard of that. So that's the newest kind of.
It is. There's been microprocessors in, for someone amputated above the knee, we have to put a mechanical knee in, and those microprocessors have been around for 10 or 12 years. But we're moving to feet and ankles because what happens at the ground affects what happens all the way up the prosthesis. So if we can minimize the torque going on and the things happen at the ground, it actually improves the comfort inside the prosthesis.
And I assume you've been keeping, like the rest of the country, just really in tune with what's happening. And I guess when you hear about so many of them losing their legs, children on up, I mean, I don't know, what goes through your mind as someone who sees these kind of injuries and wounds on a regular basis?
Yeah, and obviously, from my perspective, my first thought is the sooner someone can get and meet with these people and let them know that there's actually hope, despite the fact that they've lost a limb. A lot of times we'll take in an amputee and introduce them to these people, and they'll walk in and see that they're fine and they're able to walk. The perception sometimes of prosthetic devices is a little misleading, and so I think it helps the psychological part early on if they can actually talk to a prosthetist or talk to another amputee and see that everything's going to be fine.
Anything else that I didn't ask that you would like to mention?
The one other area that's really being developed now, and again, this is not one that's going to generally make the headlines, but the part that our expertise is really fitting this hard piece of plastic over an amputee's residual limb, that remaining limb. And there's been a lot of focus in the last several years on what we call the socket, that portion that fits around the limb. And so there's some really good technology coming down the road in terms of socket shapes, socket designs, to improve comfort and control and the proprioception that an amputee feels.
It was neat how Bill said, you know, I can kick because mine's a vacuum suction.
Correct.
And so before, people couldn't do that. You might loosen something.
And that is a really good point, because you can make a prosthesis that fits really well, but a lot of what's underestimated is how well the leg stays on. And the better it stays on, then the better control they have, the better balance they have, the better, again, proprioception they have to know where the foot is in space. If they're driving a car, they know right where the gas and the brake is, and they can handle that. So the suspension is been, we've gone now to actually vacuum pumps that are in the prosthesis that pull air out and increase they elevate the vacuum inside. We call them subatmospheric socket systems.
That's what he talked about, having the vacuum pump.
Correct.
Another question that I thought of was, these are all recent injuries. How long will it take before they get to this point, this stage in the process? I mean, these are recent surgeries. Some even haven't gone through the surgery yet because they're still trying to see if they can save, you know, the limb. But
right.
How long is it between when you have the surgery to when you start seeing and fitting for something like this?
Well, all of these victims in Boston are traumatic amputees. So if we assume